Yeah, Claes, but I get everything. Clothes, class, Kloes. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And if I remember correctly, Alex, you were in IT at the time, right? Yeah, because at the time I met you, I was in IT. So I was a computer programmer. So I just remember that connection. I remember like, here's this IT guy teaching yoga, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, but that was it was quite a journey. I mean, I think what's interesting is why did I come to yoga in the first place? And it's really because I had played a lot of jumping sports and was very active, and I was having quite a bit of difficulty with my knees, to the point where I had been to the doctor and they wanted to do surgery. And I was a little reluctant to do that. It had something to do with my patella tendon was uh, was rubbing on the kneecap, and I was having some fraying. And I happened to go to a massage therapist who was doing yoga at Interfire at
Oh,
the time,
wow. Okay.
and she said, "You should try yoga." And I thought, "Sure, why not? I'll try yoga. If it's something that might help, and I don't have to have surgery, I'll give it a shot." And a really remarkable thing is my very first class. This is when it was the Bikram series, but Marit was teaching, the owner of Interfire Yoga. And she said in the very first class, just these, and as teachers, we give these cues, and we probably give these cues, some of these like hundreds of times. And I think what's interesting is you never know when it's going to hit somebody. But she said something that was very prophetic for me. She said, if you do this yoga for 30 days straight, it'll change your life. And I thought, oh, okay, let's see what happens. So I ended up doing yoga 30 days straight.
Uh,
And I'll just say on the 30th day, I actually had signed up for a volleyball tournament, which I couldn't have really done prior to yoga. And I played all day. And it wasn't until the next day that I realized that I hadn't iced my knees. I didn't take ibuprofen. I never put my knee brace on. And the knee that they wanted to do surgery on felt great. And I was like, all right, I'm in.
yeah.
This stuff made a difference.
Yeah.
And I think really what it was is I was out of alignment. I hadn't used my muscles in different angles in different ways, or some muscles were weaker and some were stronger. And I believe with the yoga, that's what we're doing in yoga, is it's really a full body thing, multidimensional. Like we're not just strengthening the hamstring. It's everything.
Yeah.
And stretching and then the breathing and the mindfulness. And so that's how I started, and I just never stopped. I ended up doing it 60 days straight, and it's been a profound difference. And here I am sitting here talking to you, that full circle thing. um, that yeah, it changed my life,
Yeah.
and it's
That
it's that powerful.
that's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people I think have had a similar kind of experience to you. I know for me, it was back pain that yoga helped me with and really got me into it. And what I like to tell people is that, you know, and you've probably seen this where like really fantastic athletes will come into a class and struggle to do things that the 65-year-old grandmother next to him who's been coming to nothing but yoga for 3 years can do. And that's oftentimes really mysterious. But what I tell people is yoga's not necessarily going to make you like be able to bench press a bunch of weight or do anything, those kinds of things. It's not designed to really make you have like giant biceps or like just like legs that can squat a car or something like that. But what it does do is it makes all the things that connect all those different muscles together, the upper body and lower body, the right and left body, like it integrates and strengthens all those things, which makes it really good for healing issues that have to do with that. Back pain is a big one, of course, and Knee, it kind of depends on what's going on with the knee. But you're definitely a testament to, yeah, there was lots of kinds of knee pain that occur because of imbalance around the joint. And when we can bring balance around the joint and integrate the body rather than just simply trying to strengthen or make certain things more flexible, it's that integration that really has the healing power.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'll just point out too is, I think you're touching on it is for me, for what was going on, it worked. But there are processes, there are things where, maybe yoga doesn't completely fix it. If I tear a meniscus,
Uh-huh.
um, yoga's not going to fix that.
Yep.
So, so just to say that, or with back pain, if you have a herniated disc, uh, there might be other things you need to do to take care of that.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's a great place to start. Like if you haven't practiced yoga, um, try it,
Yeah.
start and see what happens. You have nothing to lose other than uh, uh, you can lose some of your anxiousness. um, well, actually, I'm going to reverse it around. Is what you gain in maybe some peace of mind, some calmness, some focus. And really the thing with yoga, like the hidden thing, when you first come to yoga and really that first class, everybody remembers their first class. And it's about, what the heck is going on? What is Warrior One? What's this pose? And you're just trying to figure out what's happening. But the more you practice, really, it becomes something different, I think. Yeah, it's the poses, but it's also the breath work. It's the connection of, uh, basically your mind to body. Like yoga is yoking mind to body. And I think, really, for me, how you do that is with the breath.
Uh-huh.
Because in every single pose, when you take a deep breath, you will feel something. Um, whether it's a strengthening pose or a stretching pose, it actually affects the body.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of the practice just becomes so deep. Um, the more you practice, and to me that's really the sweet spot. But to your point, real quick, like athletes and uh, especially like men will come to yoga or maybe not go to yoga because they feel like they're not flexible enough. And yeah, it's intimidating when you sit up next to the 25-year-old who can do all the poses and can do a forward fold and touch their hands on the floor. Um, but uh, you know, if I wasn't strong enough, well, if I wanted to gain strength, I would go to the gym. So if I want flexibility, like going to yoga to gain flexibility is like, well, that's of course that's where you would go. So it's not expected that when you come to yoga class for the first time that you're completely flexible and you can do every pose and it looks easy. Like um, I don't think it is for most people. It is difficult and athletes. It is surprising. They're like, yeah, I thought I just looked at my belly button and hummed the whole time. And they realize that it's like, no, this is pretty hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to hold the pose.
Yeah, I like your call just to say, hey, what do you got to lose? Come on in. Like, try it out, see what happens. I think it's probably surprising to a lot of people because you don't know what you're missing until you integrate. Whether it's you integrate the different muscle systems in your body that maybe we're talking together a little bit before, but now they're like really just humming together. Like, um, in, in the what one could be missing out on from not having that integration, yes, it can go as deep as knee pain or back pain, but also just like a sense of well being in the body that is really difficult to get in other modalities. And so, if you want that integration, it's not just and flexibility. But I just want to say too, like it's not. A lot of people think of yoga as flexibility, and really, I think of it as like it's an integration. It's an integration of the body. It's an integration of strength and flexibility. It's an integration, as you were talking about, with body and mind, and particularly through the breath, which almost gets to be a little bit of a cliche. Like I almost
Right.
imagine people like nodding off, like, "Oh, here goes the yoga teachers talking about breath." But the thing is like a lot of really powerful, impactful maintenance, like it's the regular use of it, like over the course of a practice or over the course of a class. It can be easy to sleep on because it is such a cliche, but like many cliches, it's a cliche for a reason. And I think everybody out there has had the experience of hearing cliche and being like, oh, yeah, yeah, whatever. And then they're
Mhm.
like, oh, like get 8 hours of sleep and eat vegetables, and they're like, holy cow, this is amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's so right now I used to be a computer guy. I was in IT for 22 years. But for the past 13 years, I went back to school and I work as a respiratory therapist. So I do focus and I think about the breath
Mm.
and the physiology of it and the emotional part of it. And I also uh, I have asthma, and I actually almost died when I was 10 from an asthma attack, which I remember vividly what that felt like. I can remember the whole setup, like the bedroom, the clothes I was wearing, how I was feeling. So I actually know what it's like to not actually feel like you're breathing. Like I couldn't tell if I was pulling breath in or not. And uh, there's an emotional component to that of like, don't panic. And all you want to do is panic, but I have to be as calm as I can possibly be. And uh, where this kind of comes around or where this applies to like with the yoga practice is, for instance, in asthma, there is an emotional component. Or really with anything is you can work yourself up into something making it worse by panicking or worry. Um, and what I find with yoga is, or what it's helped me to really understand is taking a deep, slow breath, calming down the nervous system, um, is I can keep things from getting worse. I'm actually off all of my medications since doing yoga for the asthma, which has been a really amazing benefit for me personally. Um, but even things, this gets a little bit into the weeds, but just like I also I'll get a migraine headache every now and then. Not choosing to fight it makes it less, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
It's I know that I get the aura, I know the migraine's coming. If I get all upset, like, oh my gosh, here comes a migraine, and what am I going to do now? And it's going to suck and it's going to hurt. That all adds to the suffering. But what I do immediately is I just start taking this slow, deep breath, calm down, just accept that, the headache's going to happen and that'll be over. And it's not like the headache goes away, but I suffer a lot less. And I really attribute just the whole yoga practice of just learning to breathe and feel and and accept. That's to me a tangible way that yoga has benefited me off the yoga mat is reducing suffering,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that example because I think one of the ways that I like to think of yoga is that we're oftentimes working with this interconnected system of the human being. And the thing about an interconnected system is there's always this tension between complementary opposites, which we oftentimes think of as like something like yin yang or polarity. And sometimes be, for understandable reasons, we can focus on how those opposites can become more than the sum of the parts, or create an
Mhm.
emergence that is something greater, or a virtuous cycle. And I think you make a really good point in terms of there's also really a lot of power in just slowing down or stopping a vicious cycle where things become less than the sum of the parts or become a downward spiral.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's um, and I would say so when I'm teaching a yoga class, my overall, there's a lot of things as a teacher we think about, like, what's the sequence, you know, what students are in the class, are they experienced, are they beginners? And you'll have a class where you have uh, a wide range of ages and skill level. But what I really think about the most is I want to get you, and here's a cliche, but I want to get you to take a deep breath and I want you to feel it. And the poses are important, but for me, it's the breath and connecting to what are you doing? Like, how do you feel? Like, when you're in Warrior One, like, what are you feeling? And not so much like, am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling happy? But like in your legs, like, is one leg a little weaker than the other? Do you have a cramp? Does your knee hurt? Just that connecting and just being aware of your body. I mean, that's really an amazing part of a yoga practice. So, and then the poses, it's hold a pose for a while and take a few breaths into it and feel it. So I would say my classes, um, we go slower versus faster. I would prefer to hold a pose versus do a bunch of poses. Now, I'm not saying my way is better than going faster, because there's some people, you want to do a sun salutation and you want to kind of really work up a sweat and just kind of blow through some tension from the day, and that feels really good. And I think that's a great practice if that's what you feel like doing. Um, for me, I just like to kind of sit with a pose and hold it and feel it, and then go to another one and hold it and feel it. Um, and always trying to connect the breath to movement, whenever it makes sense, is whenever we can. And I just think it kind of gets you out of your busy mind. And by focusing on the breath or how your body feels, you actually calm your mind. You can't stop thinking, but you can direct what to think about. And so that's really like my ultimate goal, is just to get you to connect. And I think when you get in class and whatever the first pose is, that first breath, it's already a success. Like,
Uh-huh.
you already connected. And then for the next hour, hour 15, we're just adding on to that. And I think the yoga practice, it's really a profound, um, the word is activity, but that's not really the word I want to say. Um, it's just a system of movement and breathing and being that, um, I think, look, if everybody in the world did yoga, the world would be a different place.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and people can do yoga with you at 6:30 on Wednesdays at Main Street, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's great to have you on our schedule, and uh, we'll see what more comes as we get going along in the future.
Yeah, and if I could just put a little thing out there, is I think the Main Street Yoga is a fabulous space, and a little bit of delight is people trickle in that used to go to the, if I may say, a different studio,
Yeah.
that this studio that just closed, with the pandemic, and um, come on back. People are coming back, and um, and I promise you, when you come take a class, I'll make sure we do horse stance with arm passes.
All right, that is a
That's my
guarantee that
promise to you.
that is a
Okay.
guarantee that you can keep for sure. All right. Yep. Well, thank you, Ken.
Sure. Thank you, Alex.
All right. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.